Donald Trump, who promised to call in, and certainly he has. Donald Trump, welcome back to Fox and Friends.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Let's talk about the Clinton Foundation. Among the people saying it's problematic and shut it down is the Huffington Post. You also agree with that premise?
Well, number one, they should shut it down. Number two, they should give the money back to a lot of countries that we shouldn't be taking and they shouldn't be taking money from. Countries that influenced her totally. And also countries that discriminate against women and gays and everybody else. I mean, that money should be it should be given back. They should not take that money.
Honestly, do you think that'll happen?
It should happen, whether or not it will. They're very greedy people, so maybe it won't, but it should happen.
I see that your campaign just sent out a statement a few minutes ago regarding this, and you're right. It is now clear the Clinton Foundation is the most corrupt enterprise in political history. You know, there are a lot of people who are not up to speed on what the Clinton Foundation's been doing that you feel is illegal.
Well, I think it's been really well documented in the book, and the book has been absolutely approved by so many people. You've had accounting firms going in there. You've had so many people going in, and it's pay for play. I mean, if you look at it, it's pay for play. So many things happen. Money is paid, and then all of a sudden, lots of good things paying the money. Very, very bad situation.
So you say shut it down.
Oh, I say shut it down.
It's interesting because the campaign was asked yesterday, hey, why don't you just shut it down now rather than wait until we find out whether or not she's elected president of the United States? And the spokesperson couldn't really answer that. Yeah, I don't know why we don't shut it down. They said, he didn't say that, but clearly that's the message.
Look, these are very greedy people. These are people that have skirted the law for a long time. Hard to believe that, you know, somebody like this has a good chance and a, fairly good chance of being president. Although, if you look at the most recent polls, I think things are turning. I think they're turning rather rapidly. But it's hard to believe that she could even be running. To be honest with you, with the emails and the crimes she committed, she shouldn't even be allowed to run for president.
Mr. Trump, let's talk about her email scandal, because she totally threw Colin Powell under the bus. She was meeting with the FBI, and she said that Colin Powell told her to use her personal email server. So she's blaming it all on him. He was in the Hamptons over the weekend, was asked about it, and he said that is a total lie. He said she was using that email for 1 year before he told her that he had been doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, look, she's a liar. I mean, she lies. She lied about the email. She lied about Colin Powell. I saw that. He was not happy. And the whole thing is a scam with them. Everything is a scam, like grifters.
Paul Sperry had a column over the weekend about Huma Abedin and her mom. Evidently, they had a Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs going. It's a journal. She had a title with the journal. She wrote for this journal, and you know what? Basically, their message is as anti-woman as you can get. You understand? They were talking about how it's better for a woman to be subservient to a man. It goes on and on and on. And today, the Clinton camp answered and said her name was just on there. She didn't really do anything. She had no formal role, as the exact quote, of the Radical Muslim Journal.
And her mom's the editor, is that right, Brian?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting because, of course, that's terrible and it shouldn't happen, and it's a lie. It's another lie that they tell. But what about the fact that Huma Abedin, who knows every single thing about Hillary Clinton, she knows more about Hillary than Hillary knows, and she's married to a pervert sleaze named Anthony Weiner, who will send anything that he has out over Twitter or any other form of getting it out. I mean, she's married to Anthony Weiner. She knows everything that Hillary Clinton is doing, and she's married to a guy that has no control over himself.
Of course, if this was a story that involved somebody with the last name of Trump, it would be a big story in the mainstream media, but because it's on the political left, not so much, right?
If this were Trump, it would be so big, you would call up and you would say, I'm so sorry for you. Isn't that sad?
All right, let's talk a little bit about your weekend. You had a meeting at Trump Towers with a number of Hispanic leaders, and then BuzzFeed, the next hour or two, had a headline, in reversal, Trump indicates to Hispanic leaders openness to legalization for immigrants. Have you changed your mind? Are you now open to leaving the 11 million or so illegals in this country right now here, or what's going on?
Let me tell you that these were great people. These are highly respected people within the community. unbelievable people. Just to tell you about BuzzFeed, they guaranteed that I wasn't going to run. And the writer that wrote the article said he will take a year's salary off if I run. And I ran. So, you know, BuzzFeed, they're about as accurate on this. But I will tell you, we're dealing with people. We have to be very firm. We have to be very, very strong when people come in illegally. We have a lot of people that want to come in through the legal process. It's not fair for them. And we're working with a lot of people in the Hispanic community to try and come up with an answer.
So you're not flip-flopping?
No, I'm not flip-flopping. We want to come up with a really fair but firm answer. It has to be very firm. But we want to come up with something fair.
The New York Times did a story Sunday saying that your companies, they looked at 30 Trump properties, have $650 million in debt. What's your reaction?
Well, the value, if the value is $11 billion, it's a very small amount of debt. I have very little debt relative to the assets. I have massive assets. In fact, I guess they said the two assets they were talking about were, they went out and did an appraisal. I think they said $3.7 billion. That's put down in a little line. Compared to my assets, I think I have less than 5% or so in debt, which is a very low debt. Now, the smart people that read that story thought it was a good story. Some people didn't understand the story. But when you get to $300 million or $600 million, but you have massive buildings and big assets, that's a very small amount of money. I have very little debt.
All right. Mr. Trump, thanks for joining us. I know you're heading to Austin tomorrow for another town hall, and I will be there with you. So thanks for that interview and for joining us this morning.
That's great.
Appreciate it.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
And we do move on now to that breaking news about one of Hillary Clinton's closest aides, Huma Abedin, separating from her husband, Anthony Weiner, after reports that he was sexting again. Abedin was with Clinton last night at a fundraiser in the Hamptons. Clinton's opponent, Donald Trump, regularly mentioned Weiner's disgrace in his campaign speeches, calling him a security threat. ABC's Cecilia Vega is with the Clinton campaign tonight.
Tonight, Hillary Clinton's closest aide is splitting from her disgraced husband, an announcement that comes just hours after a New York tabloid reported Anthony Weiner was sexting again. Huma Abedin saying, after long and painful consideration and work on my marriage, I have made the decision to separate from my husband. It was the third time in 5 years Weiner made embarrassing headlines.
I'm here today to again apologize.
In 2011, he resigned from Congress after accidentally tweeting a lewd photo of himself.
I make this apology to my neighbors and my constituents, but I make it particularly to my wife, Huma.
2 years later, as he ran for New York City mayor,
said, let me just reiterate to my wife how sorry I am that
Abedin by his side, even as more women came forward with more sexting allegations.
I love him. I have forgiven him. I believe in him.
Behind the scenes, cringeworthy moments.
We just have the room for a second, you two guys.
All laid out in a documentary released earlier this year.
It's like having a nightmare.
Still, in a recent Vogue profile, Abedin praised her husband for being, quote, essentially a full-time dad to their son Jordan. Today, the New York Post reported that in 2015, Weiner sexted a woman with his son by his side. Abedin has been in the Clinton inner circle for 2 decades. She is the gatekeeper to the woman in charge.
Her number one person, Huma Abedin, is married to Anthony Weiner, who's a sleazeball and a pervert.
Donald Trump today turning Abedin's marriage into an attack.
She's married to a guy that is uncontrolled and uncontrollable. He's a sick person. And, you know, she has access to classified information.
Trump adding, who knows what Weiner learned and who he told.
And Cecilia Vega joins me now. Cecilia, Trump also dealing with his own controversy tonight involving former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke.
David Duke is running for Senate, Tom, in Louisiana, and he put out a robocall urging voters to support both him and Donald Trump. A swift response from Trump's campaign tonight, disavowing the former KKK leader. You'll remember that last year Trump came under fire for not disavowing him fast enough, Tom. A different story tonight.
Cecilia Vega for us. Cecilia, thank you.